Imagine walking around town, then suddenly, a virus breaks out to kill adults and leave 13-year-old kids alive for vampires to feast on their blood. Then you try to escape a vampire-secluded settlement along with your family, but you are caught, and you are the last remaining guy alive to leave the vampire settlement. Of course, in your mind, you want revenge. When you get invited to a demon army that slays vampires, then days later, find out that one of your closest family or friends still lives but is now a vampire. That must be such a tall burden to take, and that most likely describes what Seraph of the End is. So relax and enjoy this recap of Seraph of the End. Seraph of the End is not the best anime, but it gets the job done. But it gives us a decent amount of story and plot. Imagine being one of those kids that were spared by vampires only for them to feast on your blood. But the main protagonist, Yuichiro, decides to take revenge on them. Most of you have seen this, so we'll just have a recap of this anime that was released back in 2015. It starts off as if people are going about their daily lives in the city until an unknown virus wipes out the population, leaving children under the age of 13 at the mercy of vampires. Then we encounter Yuichiro and Michaela in the vampire capital of Sanguinem. There we see vampires draining blood from youngsters. After a few days as refugees, the children of Hyakuya orphanage attempted to flee the city but were caught by Farid. Then he quickly kills the children and mortally injures Micah. Yuichiro, or Yu, was able to shoot Farid and attempted to bring Micah along with him. But it was too late. After escaping, Yu encountered a group of men that swore to defeat those vampires. Four years later, Yu joins the Japanese Imperial Demon Army. The city, now in ruins, is invaded by a strange monster. But Yu defies orders and decides to destroy it. Because of this, he is suspended. And there he meets Shinoa Hiragi, a member of the Moon Demon Company, a special vampire hunting organization directed by Guren Ichino. Yu was interested in joining the Moon Demon Company, but he needed to prove himself, like making friends first. While Yu was purportedly making friends with Yoichi Saotome, they were unexpectedly ambushed by a female vampire. Guren murders her after Yu was able to buy some time. Afterwards, Yu made a new friend named Yoichi, and because of this, Shinoa asked Yu and Yuichi to recruit training. At the start, we see the bullies from the last episode, attempting to open a forbidden door that no one knows what leads to. Back to Yu, Shinoa realizes Yu's desire for power, and explains the demon weapons used by the Moon Demon Company. Yu is defeated after she used her Cursed Gear Shikama Doji to spar and intimidate him. Later, the boys found and asked Yu for help about Yuji being inside the Forbidden Chamber. Inside the chamber, they discovered Yuji possessed by a demon, so Yu chooses to charge in and prove his worth to Guren. After disarming Yuji's axe, Yu is trapped by a false memory, but he escapes before being tricked into seeking revenge. When Yu wakes up, Shinoa congratulates him. Then we see another scene back at the vampire capital where Farid and Mika had a conversation and revealing that Mika lived and was turned into a vampire. Mika is seen to be alive in the aftermath, due to cruel Tepes, who saved him by making him swallow his blood. He possesses immense power after witnessing him decimate a monster invading a city. Then, returning to Yu, he begins his training program. Yu and Yuichi meet Shiho Kimizuki in Sayuri Hanayori's classroom, where they argue and fight briefly. A week before an aptitude exam, Gurren notifies Shio about his sister Mirai, who is in the hospital. Shio wants to get stronger as soon as possible, but mere power is not enough, and he also needs to rely on others for teamwork. As the test begins, Yu and Shio team up to confront the huge demon puppets, but was shortly interrupted since Shio was called to visit her sister in the hospital, as Shio refuses as this is his only chance to join the Moon Demon Company. Yu explains to him to value family over power. Shio's visit to Mirai marks the completion of the test, even though their absence has had a significant impact on their results. Shio appreciates Yu's concern, and we can see in the end that the vampires are planning to destroy the Imperial Demon Army. Cruel assembles the vampires and swears war on humanity. Meanwhile, Gurren suggests that Yu should schedule a time to select a cursed gear. After Yu finds he failed the exam, Gurren uses his cursed gear, Mahiru Noyo, to decide which pupils can withstand it. And Yu, Yoichi, and Shio are among those who can. Gurren doesn't waste time and lets Yu, Yoichi, and Shio choose their own cursed gears. Yu, Yoichi, and Shio confront their respective demons in the form of their loved ones to gain control of their desires. With Yoichi confronting her sister's death, Shio with his sister who is in a hospital, and Yu confronting Mika as the rest of his family at the orphanage. Both Yu and Shio were able to secure their own cursed gears, but Yoichi is now possessed by his weapon. Gurren orders Yu and Shio to fight and kill Yoichi, but they are hesitant to harm him. Yu and Gurren were able to bring Yoichi back to his senses when he dropped his cursed gear and left himself exposed, believing that Yoichi would remember his friends. Afterwards, Yu, Yoichi, and Shio become official members of the Moon Demon Company. The episode ends with Mika and the vampire army making their way to war. Yu is ready to face the vampires as he prepares and puts on the Blood Moon Company uniform. Then Yu, Shinoa, Yoichi, and Shio encounter Mitsuba Sangu, the squad's fifth member, who does not appear to agree with Shinoa being the leader of the group. Mitsuba, as stubborn as ever, attempts to confront Shinoa, but is stopped by Gurren. Then Gurren sends them on their first assignment together to Harajuku, where a young girl is being chased by the four horsemen of John, the monsters wandering the streets. Despite Mitsuba's warning that it's a trap, Yu saves the girl while the others are attacked by three vampires. The group destroys the horsemen, causing the vampires to flee. Although Mitsuba berates Yu for putting them at risk, she recalls losing her former squad because they failed to obey orders and blame herself in the process. Then Yu asks for any intel from the young girl that they managed to save from the vampires. She then notifies the group that the hideout is in Omotesando Station. Yu and his squad visits the station, which is populated by orphan children. They were quickly ambushed by 8 vampires, and Mitsuba was taken hostage, and was about to be killed. That's when they discovered the young girl had misled them, and caught them off guard. Yu's determination to protect his friends enabled him to overcome the demon that kidnapped Mitsuba and save her. They survived the ambush, and rescued the children. In the end, Yu forgives the girl for leading them to a trap as she was manipulated in doing so. Shinoa then tells Mitsuba about Yu's past in the vampire settlement. Mitsuba then has a hard time thanking Yu for saving her, but she decides to not thank him instead. After everything that has happened, Yu and Shio found a car to help them travel to Shinjuku, and while on their way to Shinjuku, Yu and his pals confront the vampire noble Crowley Uford, who provokes them despite being outnumbered. Crowley nearly killed Shinoa, but Yu managed to save her. As the fight was ready to commence, Chessbell and Hornskull arrived, and brought Crowley and called him back to the front lines, thus cancelling the fight. Despite knowing what they will face, Yu and his comrades enter Shinjuku. Vampires in helicopters were able to bring down Shinjuku's walls and begin their raid. Shinjuku is the Imperial Army's second most important city, and they cannot allow it to fall into vampire hands. Yu and his friends rescue Corporal Nagai from a group of armed helicopters. On the other hand, Gurren discovers a group of vampires from a distance, including Ferid and Mika. When Ferid recalls Mika of his role towards the vampires, a flashback shows Mika drinking Krul's blood, despite him rejecting it as he cannot resist since he is now a vampire. While Nagai leads the group to the western defensive barrier, Shinoa discusses and distributes curse and augmenting stimulant pills that may aid them in their battles. While this was going on, they were shot down by a helicopter, and while Yu was rescuing Nagai, one of the helicopters destroyed a part of the road, causing them to plunge into sewers and separating Yu and Shinoa from the others. They agreed to meet at a local defense base. The episode concludes with Mika encountering Gurren. Yu and Shinoa accompany Nagai to the paramedic camp. While the Moon Demon Company distracts the vampires, Mika attacks and fends off Gurren. While in the paramedic camp, Yu heard news of kids defending Central Park from vampires. Yu and Shinoa rejoins with Yuichi, Shio, and Mitsuba at the Central Park. And Shio scolds Yu for not trusting them to fight the vampires, but Yu rephrases what Shio said and just wants to support them whenever they need it. Then they begin to approach the western defense barrier, returning to the fight between Gurren and Mika. Shigure Yukimi and Norito Goshi offer aid in distracting Mika so that Gurren can deal the fatal blow. But Ferid protects Mika and manages to score a strong hit on Gurren. Gurren intends to take another pill to improve his skills, ignoring the possibility that he may die. But Mika confronts Gurren and stabs him in the chest. Mika hears a faint human voice from a distance, then recognizes Yu. Yu stabs Mika in the chest and begins to realize who he stabbed. Yu realizes that it was Mika and hesitates to use his curse and kill him as he was part of his family. Then Mika tries to make Yu join the vampires since humans are trying to deceive them. After seeing Yu hesitating to kill Mika, Crowley, Chess, Horn, Lacuswelt, and Renee Sim arrive to fight the Moon Demon Company. While Ferid lures Yu and Gurren away from the rest, Mika was able to cut off Ferid's arm before he could kill Yu, and Mika tried to take Yu away from the humans. Yu doesn't agree with Mika's advice that humans are deceiving him. Mika stops Yu from helping, even though he notices that his buddies are being overpowered by vampires. At that point, we witness him awakening his demon power and losing control over it. Yu returns to the battlefield and tries to fight off Crowley, and Ferid restrains Gurren, but Yu's strength is too great for him. Mika saves Shinoa from being stabbed and embraces Yu before losing control of his ability, causing him to return to normal as he passes out. The fight dragged long enough for reinforcements to show up. Shinoa wants to speak with Gurren after the battle because she wants to know what happened to Yu. Next, she visits a restricted underground laboratory, where she asks Gurren about the pills she gave to Yu. Gurren reveals that they must do this to repel the vampire attacks. Though she was forced to do this, Shinoa did not agree. Because of the pills, it will take at least 5 days before Yu wakes up. Mika is thinking about his identity as a vampire and a human, and Lacus and Renee are now aware of his previous affiliation. Yu finally wakes up from a week-long coma. He asks Shinoa what happened. She was hesitant to give the full details and just shared that he faded, then reinforcements arrived which led to the vampires retreating along with Mika. His friends finally arrived and reunited with Yu, feeling relieved that he finally woke up. Yu promises Mika they will reunite with each other. Seraph of the End ends with Verid giving research data to a hidden human client. One of the key themes in Seraph of the End is the value of family and friendship. The protagonists, especially Yu, are driven by a desire to protect and reconcile with their loved ones. This demonstrates how good supportive relationships may give people the strength to overcome even the most difficult circumstances. Sometimes revenge is not always the answer. Always rely on other people that help support you along the way. That's it for this recap, and I hope to see you in our next video.